Everyone warned me about him. They said some people don't just hold power, they are power. Untouchable. Protected. Immune to consequences. I believed them. Until the night I watched Fear silence an innocent woman and realized that staying quiet would make me complicit. My name is Saman, and I was just another employee trying to do her job until I confronted the man everyone was afraid of. I didn't know that one act of defiance would trigger a call from the board, expose hidden alliances, and pull me into a war I never meant to fight. I never imagined my day would begin with an ordinary cup of coffee and end with a decision that would put my career, my reputation, maybe even my safety, at risk. When I walked into the office that morning, the lights felt unusually bright. Maybe it was because I hadn't slept well, or maybe my mind already knew something my heart hadn't accepted yet. The company I worked for was powerful, respected across the city. For most people, it was a badge of honor. For me, it was proof that hard work could still mean something. I worked in operations, not HR. My world revolved around reports, numbers, and deadlines. Facts mattered here, or at least I believed they did. As I was logging into my system, Sana, my colleague, approached my desk, clutching a file to her chest like a shield. "Saman," she whispered, "did you finalize last night's incident report?" I nodded. "Yes. Everything is attached. CCTV, screenshots. The witness statement too, whatever I could gather." Her face drained of color. "Are you out of your mind?" I looked up at her. "What do you mean?" She glanced around, lowered her voice even further. "You wrote his name, didn't you?" I paused for a second. "Of course I did. What's the point of a report without accountability?" He pushed an employee in the parking lot. Took her phone. "Stop." Sana cut me off sharply. "You don't understand how things work here. That man, he's untouchable." The word hit me like a slap. Untouchable. I repeated. "Is he some kind of crime boss?" Sana forced a weak smile, but fear filled her eyes. "Worse. He's close to the board. The CEO's favorite. Complaints against him disappear. People who speak up, they disappear too." I placed my pen down slowly. "Then what about the victim?" "Her name was Nita." Sana swallowed. "Nita complained once before. After that, her department was changed. Her performance rating suddenly dropped. A month later, she resigned. I had seen Nita the night before. No tears. Just a hollow expression. The kind you see when someone already knows the system won. "I'm not resigning," I said quietly. Sana stared at me as if I'd just signed my own termination letter. Heavy footsteps echoed from the elevator. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Conversations dropped. Chairs stopped moving. The office seemed to hold its breath. Then he appeared. Tall. Confident. Expensive suit. The kind of man who carried power in his posture alone. Two people walked behind him, assistants or security, but everyone's attention was on him. As he passed, his eyes flicked toward me. Just one look, but it carried a clear message. "I see you. Don't test me." My heart raced, but I didn't look away. "That's him," Sana whispered. So this was the untouchable man. The one whose presence silenced an entire floor. I closed my report file and stood up. Sana grabbed my wrist. "Saman, where are you going?" "Where I should have gone yesterday." "Don't," she begged. "Please." I met her eyes. "If I stay silent now, I'll stay silent forever." I walked toward the board corridor. Every step felt heavy. I could sense people watching without turning their heads. No one stopped me. No one helped me either. He was standing near the boardroom, speaking on his phone. When he saw me approaching, he lowered his voice and smirked, as if this were entertainment. "Excuse me?" I said. He ended the call. "Yes? You're Saman, right? New hire. What do you want?" His tone was polite, but poisonous. "I want an explanation for what happened in the parking lot," I said steadily. "And I want you to stop threatening Nita." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Threatening? Are you here to lecture me?" "I'm here to tell the truth," I replied. "You pushed her, took her phone, and told her her career would end if she complained." His smile faded just a little. "Do you have proof?" he asked. I raised the file. CCTV footage. He looked at it, then at me. Do you know who you're talking to? I know what I'm talking about, I said. Abuse of power. He stepped closer. I could smell his expensive cologne. His voice dropped. Delete that report. Now. And mind your own business. Or you'll be gone before you even realize what happened. I held his gaze. If you're so powerful, why are you afraid of a report? For the first time, his jaw tightened. The arrogance cracked, just for a second. Before he could respond, footsteps rushed toward us. Sir, an assistant said urgently. The board just called. They want to see you. Immediately. His confidence wavered. Barely, but I saw it. As he turned to leave, he looked back at me. This time, there was uncertainty in his eyes. I spoke softly. Looks like today you're not so untouchable after all. And in that moment, I realized this was no longer just my fight. This was a boardroom war. The boardroom floor had always felt untouchable, polished marble, glass walls, and a silence that carried authority. I had passed that corridor dozens of times without ever imagining I would become part of what happened behind those doors. Now, as the elevator doors closed behind him, I felt the shift ripple through the office. People pretended to work, but no one typed. No one spoke. Everyone was listening for an echo that never came. Sanaa slowly walked up to me. You shouldn't have done that, she said, not angry, terrified. Maybe, I replied, but it's done. She hesitated. Do you know what happens when the board calls someone like him? I shook my head. They don't ask questions, she said. They protect interests. That word, interests, stuck with me. I returned to my desk, but my screen blurred. My phone buzzed once. Then again. An unknown internal number. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, my manager, Mr. Halim, appeared beside my cubicle. His expression was unreadable. Salman, he said calmly, come with me. The walk back to the board corridor felt longer this time. Every step echoed louder. When we stopped outside a small conference room, not the main boardroom, my chest tightened. Inside sat 3 people. 2 men in tailored suits. 1 woman with sharp eyes and a tablet resting on the table. No nameplates. No smiles. Mr. Halim gestured for me to sit. Someone, the woman began. We understand you filed an incident report last night. Yes, I said. I did. You confronted a senior executive this morning. Yes. One of the men leaned forward. Do you understand the implications of confronting someone at his level? I understand the implications of staying silent, I replied. There was a brief pause. Not disapproval. Evaluation. The woman tapped her tablet. You referenced CCTV footage. Yes. Parking lot camera C-17. Timestamp 9:42 p.m. That caught their attention. You're certain? She asked. I reviewed it myself. Silence again, but different this time. Heavy. Calculated. Then the door opened. He walked in. His presence filled the room instantly, but something was different now. The confidence was still there, but it was forced. Controlled. He didn't look at me. Not at first. You wanted to see me? He said to the board members, voice smooth. The woman nodded. We did. Sit. He sat. One of the men spoke. An allegation has been brought forward. Abuse of authority. Intimidation. Physical misconduct. He finally turned to me. His eyes hardened. This is absurd, he said. A misunderstanding blown out of proportion by a junior employee. Junior employees don't fabricate CCTV footage, I said. The words left my mouth before fear could stop them. The room went still. The woman raised an eyebrow. You reviewed the footage? Yes. She turned to him. Did you? No, he replied quickly. Because there was nothing to review. She pressed a button on her tablet. The screen lit up on the wall. The footage played. No sound. No drama. Just truth. The shove. The phone snatched. Nita stumbling backward. For the first time, his face lost color. The man beside the woman cleared his throat. This isn't the first report. My breath caught. What? He snapped. The woman didn't look at him. 2 informal complaints. Settled quietly. NDAs signed. I looked at her. Nita wasn't the first? No, she said. She was just the first with a witness, and someone brave enough to document it properly. He stood up. You're going to believe her over me? She finally met his eyes. We're going to believe evidence. The second man leaned back. And intent. I felt my pulse in my ears. The woman turned to me again. Salman, why did you push this forward? I didn't hesitate. Because power doesn't excuse harm. And because if I stayed silent, I'd be choosing safety over integrity. Another pause. Then something unexpected happened. She smiled. Not kindly. Not cruelly. Respectfully. You realize, she said, that you've made yourself a problem. I know, I replied. Good, she said. We need more of those. He slammed his hand on the table. This is a setup. The woman stood. This is accountability. She looked at him coldly. You're suspended pending investigation. Effective immediately. His head snapped toward her. You can't. I just did. Security appeared at the door. As he was escorted out, his eyes locked onto mine. There was no arrogance now. Only fury and something else. Fear. The room exhaled. The woman turned back to me. You're dismissed for now. I stood. My legs felt unsteady. As I reached the door, she added, Saman. I turned. Be careful, she said. People don't lose power quietly. I nodded. When I stepped back onto the office floor, whispers followed. News traveled fast, but not the whole truth. It never does. Sana rushed to me. What happened? He's suspended, I said. Her eyes widened. You're serious? Yes. She grabbed my hand. You just shook the building. I looked around. Same desks. Same lights. Same silence. But everything had changed. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time, I answered. A calm voice spoke. Saman. This is the board chair. We need to talk privately. I closed my eyes. The war wasn't over. It was just getting organized. The board chair's office was nothing like I expected. No intimidating trophies. No dramatic city view. Just warm lighting, a simple wooden desk, and the kind of quiet that made honesty unavoidable. Sit down, Saman, she said. I did. She studied me for a long moment, not like a superior, but like someone measuring weight. Consequences. Risk. You did something very inconvenient today, she finally said. I didn't apologize. I told the truth. She nodded slowly. That's usually what causes inconvenience. She folded her hands. You need to understand something. Suspending him was the easy part. What comes next will be messy. I expected that. Good, she replied. Because people like him don't fall alone. They pull others down, or burn everything on the way. I felt a chill. You're saying this isn't over. I'm saying it's bigger than you think. She opened a folder and slid it across the desk. Inside were names, departments, dates, patterns. My stomach tightened. These are quiet settlements, she said. Hushed transfers. Career derailments disguised as performance issues. I flipped a page. I froze. Nita's name was there. And others, I whispered. Yes, the chair said calmly. And now that you've disrupted the balance, those people may finally speak, or they may panic. She leaned forward. Which makes you a target. I swallowed. So, why tell me this? Because, she said, you have two options. I waited. Option 1. We protect you publicly. Promotion. Visibility. The kind that deters retaliation but invites scrutiny. And option 2? You walk away quietly. Generous exit package. Clean record. Safe. The word safe lingered. I thought of Nita's empty stare. Of Sana's fear. Of the footage playing in silence. I won't walk away, I said. The chair didn't smile this time. She nodded once. Then you need to understand the cost. By the next morning, the office felt hostile in a way I'd never experienced. Smiles were forced. Conversations stopped when I approached. Emails were suddenly formal, cold. My manager avoided eye contact. By noon, HR scheduled a routine review. Routine. The HR rep, a man I'd barely spoken to before, cleared his throat. There have been concerns about your conduct. Conduct, I repeated. Your approach, he said carefully. Aggressive. Disruptive. I followed protocol, I said. Exactly. He tapped his pen. Perception matters. So does truth, I replied. That evening, I found a note slipped onto my desk. You think you won. You didn't. No signature. My hands trembled, but not from fear. From anger. That night, my phone rang again. Private number. This is a friendly warning, a male voice said. Back off. I won't, I replied. A pause. Then a low laugh. We'll see. The call ended. I sat in the dark of my apartment, realizing something important. This was no longer about justice. It was about survival. And I was done being polite. The first thing I learned after confronting power was this. Silence doesn't mean peace. It means preparation. By the end of the week, rumors had already reshaped the narrative. In the version circulating quietly through the office, I wasn't brave. I was difficult, emotional, unstable, the kind of woman who misunderstands authority. I heard it in fragments, half sentences that stopped when I entered a room. Overreacted. Career suicide. Always troublemakers. I kept my head down and my documentation tight. Every email, every meeting, every unexplained change. I backed up files twice, once on a personal drive, once to the cloud. Because the retaliation didn't come loudly. It came strategically. My workload doubled overnight. Deadlines shrank. Resources disappeared. A report I'd submitted on time came back marked incomplete, with no explanation. When I asked for clarification, my manager replied with a single sentence. Let's discuss alignment. Alignment had become the new weapon. Then came the performance review. The HR meeting was scheduled without warning. 2 representatives sat across from me. Neutral faces. Scripted sympathy. This isn't disciplinary, one of them said. Just a conversation. I almost smiled. They questioned my tone, my judgment, my collaborative spirit. Have you considered, the other asked, that your actions may have disrupted team morale? I've considered, I replied calmly, that abuse disrupts more. They exchanged a look. After the meeting, Sanaa found me near the stairwell. They're building a case, she whispered. I heard them. They're trying to make you look unstable. I know, I said. She grabbed my arm. Then why are you still here? I met her eyes. Because that's what they want. That night, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. If you want to know how deep this goes, stop pretending you're alone. Attached was a file. I hesitated before opening it. It was a spreadsheet. Names, dates, payments, transfers, shell departments. My chest tightened. This wasn't just harassment. It was a system. The next message came minutes later. Meet me tomorrow. 7 p.m. parking level B. I didn't reply. But I went. The garage was nearly empty when I arrived. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Every sound echoed. A woman stepped out from behind a pillar. She was older than me. Calm. Sharp eyes. I'm not here to hurt you, she said. I'm here because you did what I couldn't. Who are you? I asked. She exhaled. A former legal advisor. I signed the first NDA. My stomach dropped. They made me choose, she continued. My career or the truth. I chose wrong. She handed me a flash drive. Everything is here. Contracts. Emails. Internal approvals. Why give this to me? I asked. Because the board only suspended him, she said. They haven't touched the structure that protected him. I looked at the drive in my hand. It felt heavier than it was. They're watching you, she warned. And now, they'll watch me too. As she walked away, she turned back once. If you go forward, she said, you can't go halfway. I stood alone in the garage long after she left. For the first time, I understood the truth. This wasn't about one untouchable man. It was about who made him untouchable. I didn't sleep that night. The flash drive sat on my desk, untouched, like a live wire. Every instinct told me to be careful. Every moral fiber told me to open it. At 3:12 a.m., I did. What I found wasn't chaos, it was order. Cleanly labeled folders. Dates. Approval chains. Legal language twisted into shields. Payments categorized as consulting fees. Transfers justified as organizational realignment. Abuse monetized. I took screenshots. Copied files. Cross-checked names with public records. The deeper I went, the clearer it became. This wasn't one predator hiding in the shadows. This was a network protecting itself in plain sight. By morning, my fear had transformed into clarity. I encrypted everything. Then I made a decision that scared me more than confronting him ever had. I requested a meeting with the board chair. The meeting happened behind closed doors. I have evidence, I said, placing a printed summary on the table. Not just against him, against the system that covered him. She didn't react immediately. She read. Slowly. When she finally looked up, her expression had changed. Where did you get this? Someone who paid the price for staying silent. This information, she said carefully, could collapse departments. It should, I replied. She studied me. You realize what you're asking. I'm asking you to choose integrity over convenience. Silence. Then she stood. Leave this with me. I won't, I said. She paused. Excuse me? I won't hand over the only copy, I clarified. Not without guarantees. Her eyes sharpened. You've learned fast. I had to. She exhaled. We'll convene an emergency session. The retaliation intensified. My access credentials stopped working for maintenance. Security followed me between floors. A colleague avoided sitting next to me during lunch. Then came the anonymous email. Last chance. Walk away. I forwarded it to myself. Documented the timestamp. That evening, my name appeared in an internal memo. Temporary reassignment pending review. I laughed when I read it. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. 2 days later, the story broke. Not internally, externally. A journalist published an exposé, The Untouchables Inside Corporate Power. No names at first. Just patterns. Systems. Silence. The company's stock dipped by noon. By evening, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. The board chair called. You leaked this, she said. I protected it, I replied. There was a pause. Come in tomorrow, she said. Everything changes now. I looked out the window at the city lights. They thought exposure would scare me. They were wrong. It had set me free. The company responded the only way powerful institutions ever do when cornered, by smiling. The public statement came out at 9 a.m. sharp. We take all allegations seriously. An internal review is underway. We remain committed to our values. Values. The word felt hollow. By noon, my reassignment became official. I was moved to a windowless office on a lower floor. No team, no direct reports, no meaningful work. Isolation dressed up as neutrality. When I arrived, my laptop had already been reset. Clean. Too clean. I powered it on and felt a rush of relief when my personal backups synced automatically. They hadn't erased me, just the illusion of control. Sanaa found me later that day. They're spinning it, she whispered. Saying the article is exaggerated. Saying you're a disgruntled employee. I expected that, I said. But they're also saying something else. I looked up. What? That you acted alone. I let out a slow breath. Of course they are. That evening, the board called a press conference. I watched it live. The board chair stood at the podium, composed, deliberate. She spoke of accountability, transparency, and ongoing investigations. Then came the moment that made my pulse spike. We acknowledge, she said, that concerns were raised internally by an employee who acted in good faith. She didn't say my name, but she didn't erase me either. That mattered. The next move came from him. A defamation notice arrived at my apartment the following morning. He was suing me personally. False allegations, reputational damage, emotional distress. I read it twice, then laughed, once sharply. They wanted to drain me, scare me, bury me in legal costs. I called the number the former legal advisor had given me. "I need a lawyer," I said. She replied without hesitation. "You already have one." The legal battle began quietly. Motions, counters, evidence requests. The company tried to distance itself from him while still shielding the infrastructure that made him possible. A delicate dance. Then something unexpected happened. Emails started coming in. From employees, women, men, people I barely knew. I saw what he did. I signed an NDA. I thought I was alone. I wasn't. We weren't. The journalist followed up with a second piece, this time naming departments. Then executives. The company's silence grew louder. One night, as I prepared notes for my deposition, my phone rang. Unknown number. "This has gone far enough," a familiar voice said. I closed my eyes. "You don't get to decide that. You're destroying lives," he snapped. "No," I replied calmly. "I'm exposing choices." A pause. Then softer. "You could still stop." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "That was your option," I said. "You didn't take it." The line went dead. I set the phone down and looked at the stack of documents beside me. They thought this was a fight about reputation. They were wrong. This was about reckoning. The first testimony broke the silence. She wasn't a headline. She wasn't a whistleblower by title. She was a project coordinator from a department no one paid attention to, and that's exactly why her voice shook the system. Her statement leaked online before the hearing even began. Clear. Calm. Devastating. She described the threats. The forced smiles. The meeting where she was told her future depended on cooperation. She described signing the NDA with shaking hands. By the end of the day, 3 more testimonies followed. Then 7. Then 12. The company's carefully managed narrative collapsed under the weight of lived experience. Inside the building, panic replaced control. Executives canceled meetings. Lawyers filled hallways. Security tightened at entrances, not to protect employees, but to protect information. I was called in for my deposition 2 days later. The room was sterile. Cameras, recorders, faces trained to remain neutral. "State your name for the record." "Someone." "And your role at the company?" "Operations analyst." They asked about procedures, timelines, emails. Then came the question they thought would break me. "Why didn't you go through your manager before escalating?" I didn't flinch, because my manager was listed as an approver on 2 of the settlements. The room went still. They hadn't expected that. Outside the deposition room, the board chair waited. "You were precise," she said quietly. I was honest. She nodded. "The difference matters now." That afternoon, the board announced the formation of an independent oversight committee. 2 executives resigned before the statement was even finished. The market reacted instantly. Inside my apartment that night, I sat alone, exhausted, wired, strangely calm. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you for making it safe to speak." Then another. "Because of you, I told my story today." I pressed my phone to my chest. For the first time since this began, I cried. The hearing reconvened a week later. This time, the room was full. Journalists, observers, legal counsel. He entered last. No entourage. No arrogance. He didn't look at me. The lead investigator read the summary. Repeated abuse of authority. Retaliation. Coercion.
He was given the chance to respond.
"I deny the intent," he said. "These were misunderstandings." The investigator didn't argue. She played the footage. Again. Silence does not negotiate with evidence. When the session ended, the board chair approached me. "This is bigger than our company now," she said. "Regulators are involved." I nodded. "And you?" she asked. "What do you want?" The question caught me off guard. I thought of the people who spoke, because they finally felt safe. "I want systems that don't need heroes," I said. Just accountability. She looked at me for a long moment.
Then stay, she said.
Help us rebuild. I didn't answer immediately. Some victories change you. Some redefine you. And I wasn't done choosing yet. The verdict didn't arrive with drama. No shouting. No final speeches. Just a document uploaded quietly to a secure portal at 6:47 a.m. I read it alone. Violation of corporate ethics. Abuse of authority. Retaliation. Systemic failure. The findings were undeniable. By noon, the board released the statement. He was terminated.
Permanently.
His contracts voided. Bonuses frozen. Legal action pending. But the real shock wasn't his fall. It was who fell with him. 3 senior executives. 2 legal advisors. 1 board member. The structure that made him untouchable had finally cracked. The office felt different that day. Not lighter.
Just honest.
People spoke in full sentences again. Doors stayed open. Eyes met without fear. Sana hugged me in the hallway. You did this, she whispered. No, I said. We did. Later that afternoon, I was called back to the board chair's office. She didn't offer congratulations. She offered responsibility. We're creating a permanent ethics and accountability unit, she said. Independent. Protected. Transparent. I listened carefully. And we want you to lead the design. I felt the weight of it settle in my chest. I'm not a politician, I said. She nodded. That's why we're asking. That night, as the news ran its final segment, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from a number I recognized. Nita, I got my job back. And an apology. It matters. I smiled. Not because it was over, but because something had begun. When the building lights shut off that night, I stood by the window longer than usual. I thought about the word untouchable. It only works when everyone believes in it. And I didn't anymore. The world thought the story was finished. Headlines faded. Hashtags moved on. People love conclusions. They make injustice easier to digest. But consequences don't follow news cycles. They follow people. For the first time since this began, I had nothing urgent to fight. No meetings. No depositions. No threats waiting in my inbox. That silence felt heavier than the chaos. I started noticing what I'd ignored before. How tired I was. How my hands shook when my phone rang. How sleep came in fragments. Victory has a cost. The backlash came quietly. A speaking invitation was withdrawn due to scheduling conflicts. A consulting role disappeared without explanation. A former colleague stopped returning my calls. I wasn't being punished officially. I was being remembered. Sana noticed it too. They're scared of you, she said one evening. You remind them what happens when someone doesn't play along. I don't want to be a warning, I replied. Too late, she said gently. Then came the letter. Handwritten. No return address. You humiliated people who never forget. Be careful what you build. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't report it. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because fear no longer got to decide for me. A month later, the board chair called again. The regulators are closing their inquiry, she said. Fines. Mandates. Oversight. And me? I asked. You've been offered a permanent role. External facing. High visibility. I knew what she was really asking. Would I stay in the system that hurt me so it could change? Or would I walk away intact? I need time, I said. She understood. That night, I opened a folder on my laptop labeled drafts. Inside was a document I'd started weeks ago. My story. Not the version shaped by press releases or legal summaries. The truth. I began writing again. Because if power rewrites history, then telling it becomes an act of resistance. I didn't accept the role right away. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood something important. Staying wasn't the same as winning, and leaving wasn't the same as giving up. For weeks, I lived quietly. No interviews. No panels. No statements. I watched the world adjust to a version of the story that felt smaller than the truth. Then the call came. Not from the board. From a woman I didn't know. "I'm calling because they told me to stay silent," she said. "And because you didn't." We talked for an hour. By the time the call ended, my decision had already been made. I returned to the building one last time. Not as an employee, but as a witness. In the boardroom, I declined the permanent role. But I said, "I'll help you build something that doesn't depend on me." I proposed independent reporting channels, external oversight, mandatory rotation of authority, protections written into policy, not promises. The board accepted, not because I demanded it, because they knew what happened when people were ignored. Months later, my life looked different. I worked as an advisor, not tied to one institution but accountable to many. Quietly,
Carefully. Sometimes people recognized me.
most times they didn't. And that was fine. One evening, as I closed my laptop, Sanaa messaged me. "You still scared?" I smiled. "No," I replied. "I'm grounded." The man they once called untouchable was never charged criminally. But he was never protected again. And that was enough. Because power only survives in silence. And I had learned how to speak. They used to say confronting him was pointless, that the system would swallow me whole. But systems are built by people, and people change when someone refuses to disappear. I was never meant to be a hero. I was just someone who didn't look away. And sometimes, that's all it takes to make the untouchable answer.